It's great to have you with us on this eye-opening edition of Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. Today we are going to be shining a very bright light on a topic that's already stirring reactions on, boardrooms, trading floors, everywhere. Anybody who finds his or herself on this space has, found a way to make this a topic of conversation, because it is the whole conversation is going to be centered around on tax on crypto and digital assets, remote workers, and the Nigeria's new tax laws. But let's begin with the key business trends that matter today, starting from the headlines. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, says Nigeria's 3 tiers of government shared a cumulative 9.62 trillion naira from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, the FAC, over a 3-month period, which covered August, September, and October 2025 revenues. Now we move to the next one, where Nigeria's inflation trajectory for 2025 has been materially revised upward following the December 2025 Consumer Price Index methodology review by the NBS, even though the broader disinflation trend remains intact. Now we move to the next headline that says the Delta State Ogidigbeng's Gas Revolution Industrial Park GRIP has emerged as the largest single recipient of construction contracts under China's Belt and Road Initiative in 2025. We move to the next one that says the IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says workers across the world are facing mounting pressure to acquire new skills as artificial intelligence, that's AI, and digital technologies rapidly reshape job market, which draws on the new IMF analysis of millions of online job vacancies across advanced and emerging economies. Next up says NCR PLC has extended one of the most remarkable rallies of the Nigerian exchange into 2026, following an explosive run in the previous year, as well as the company's stock that surged by an impressive 1,354%, making it the top performing stock on the NGX for 2024. Now we move deeper into the markets. The Nigerian exchange NGX closes this mid-January with a total capital market valuation of over 66.851 trillion naira, to represent a 44.3% gain, and closing at 217.749 trillion naira, according to the latest data that was released by the NGX Limited at the close of business on Friday, January 16. Now we are going to be looking at these stories and more. Stay with us. I am Divine Alex. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the show. My name is Divine Alex, and you are still on the Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. And joining me is economist Abiola Adekunle. It's good to have you here today. I think I should say Happy New Year to you, because this is my first show. I mean, thank you so much for being a part of the show. My voice, right? It's back. Okay, so let's get into it proper, right? Nigeria's economic picture heading into 2026 reflects measured resilience alongside growing pressure point, with 9.62 trillion naira shared by the 3 tiers of government from FAC between August and October. Inflation officially easing to 15.15% in December after a CPI methodology review, and major capital inflows such as Delta State's $24.5 billion Ogidigbeng's Gas Revolution Industrial Park, now the largest belt and road project in Nigeria. At the same time, the IMF warns that AI and digital technologies are reshaping jobs globally, forcing rapid reskilling, while market optimism remains strong at home as stocks like NCR Nigeria extend their rally into 2026, helping push NGS market capitalization deeper into record territory. Now, let me start here now. The NBS reports, that Nigeria's FAC allocations hit 9.62 trillion naira over just 3 months. That is from August to October. Now, with this level of federal revenue sharing but persistent service delivery gaps, what does this say about fiscal sustainability?
Well, it shows that the focus has been for a long time on the federal government, still on the federal government, but I always push that people should also focus on the states, because my own mindset is this: why would we have a state that cannot generate enough, okay, to support itself? You know, when you get to 18 years, for example, as a human being, they say you've gotten to the age of adults. So at that point, they call it age of responsibility, that you should be able to take care of yourself. Now, whether your parents continue to take care of you or not is a different conversation, right? Now, if you have states that are getting this level of FAC allocation, apart from the IGR they are generating, and we cannot see the service delivery, we cannot see the improvement in the states, then I think much more light should be shone on these states to actually see what is going on. Because I personally am someone that has always been against FAC, the way it is being done. I always feel that states that are doing well in terms of generating revenue, and I'm not talking about tax. For me, I want to separate the talk of tax from IGR. Talking about states that actually produce. They have industries, they are producing this or that, they have farms. Now, these states should be given more because they've demonstrated that they can actually handle some. Then they should be given more. A state that cannot, demonstrate that they can actually handle and multiply what they are giving, that when you continue giving them, it's more like a waste. Because now you're saying, we're talking about 90-something, 9-point-something trillion, and at the end of the day, we can visibly not really see it. I was looking at a particular state some days back, posted on social media the roads they are doing, and a lot of people were really complaining that the level of construction is really poor. So coming back to this now, I feel that if something is not done, the sustainability might not be there on the long run, because a lot of people have this bias that whatever money goes to states is just going into a hole. And that's what we are seeing. Everybody keeps holding the federal government, the federal government. But what about the states? What are they doing? Go to your states. You'll find out that the buildings and the development that has been there for the past 30 years, if not worse, is the same thing that is still there.
Now, if we are, continue to have these issues with states, taking more money and then they're not able to do anything, then people asking the question, okay, why do they keep giving them now going to the wrong? Is it that there's no committee? Is it that there's no proper ways that the government is supposed to get people, maybe a committee to look into getting them to actually use those funds to just continue to give them?
The onus rests on the people. This is the way the government flows. In your community, you say, this person, we trust him, we'll vote him, let him go and represent our interests. So you vote him into the state assembly. Now, when you vote different types of people into the state assembly representing different areas in a state, they are meant to look after, okay, what you need, okay, in that state. So if at the end of the day, monies are not being spent the way they are meant to be spent, then who you should hold on to, okay, are the people representing you that, Ogakomo, you are not doing what you are meant to do. But if at the end of the day that is not being done, you cannot hold federal government and say federal government should why stop giving money. No. It's more or less the constitution. It's what everybody agrees. Now, if your own area is not functioning well, all the people that are representing you. So the onus at the end of the day falls on the citizens. They are meant to be the one to say this money was allocated. What happened?
What happens with
and that is why you see that a lot of state assemblies all over the world, or assemblies generally, are usually very hot. This one is debating, this one is saying no, because everybody is looking for the interest of their people. But in Nigeria, you found out that now the interest of the people is being pushed to secondary, and you now find out that a state assembly can exist, that all the members now have their own interest aligned and not interest for the people that voted for them.
Oh, which is really, really interesting. Okay, now let's take a swipe at the inflation, where it says the inflation has officially eased to 15.15% in December 2025 after an NPS CPI revision. But we still have critics coming out to say that, the rebasing still clouds the real price conditions. Now, how should Nigerian households interpret this disinflation in terms of real purchasing power and food prices this year?
Well,
Because, this has set a tone for us to get into 2026. So a lot of people are, actually believing that, okay, when they say inflation is gone down, so everything should just start working, prices should start dropping, everything should start happening immediately.
An average Nigerian, and no disrespect meant, is not very educated, okay? So there are things that they actually care about, and there are things that they don't care about. Now, me and you can care about the inflation numbers. An average Nigerian cares about the real price in the market. Now, when they notice that the prices are going down, they will say it. So the truth is that towards the end of last year, prices dropped. But we want to see if they can be sustained. So to an average Nigerian, we are not looking at 15.1 or whatever, but we know that the prices have dropped. So we are checking to see if the price will continue dropping, and we can use that to plan. So I would say that there's a bias right now that prices are not where they used to be, okay? But they have dropped in the interim. So I think that Nigerians are still looking and trying to plan if it's going to continue that way or not.
Okay, now I want to ask this because I just remember that one of the time I was having a conversation with somebody on this whole inflation dropping, and somebody was trying to make a point that, oh, this inflation is different from deflation. Now, according to you, in your own perspective, what would you say? How would you explain this whole inflation thing to somebody who is selling pepper in the market, so that the person will understand that there's actually a difference between deflation and
the pepper you mentioned is making me cough, but I'll be fine.
Sorry.
So this issue of explaining to a layman, all I will say is this: that with waiting government don't they do. Let me speak in pidgin. Wetin government don dey do, we dey see say price dey drop small. And if government continue and we no get people wey dey sabotage am, price will continue to dey drop. But if e no drop at the rate at which government say e dey drop, but e continue to dey drop, you understand? Now, acceleration can be at different levels. Now, if government is saying inflation has dropped by 50%, but we are experiencing 25%, one common factor between the two is that there's a drop. Now, the extent of the drop is different.
Speed, yes.
So that's what I would explain to them, that we can see that things are gradually dropping. But want to watch to be sure that it will continue that way. But even though government data is saying that it has dropped far more than what we are experiencing, it can be a ripple effect syndrome, meaning that the data has come, there will be a buffer before we start seeing it in reality.
Okay, so now the headlines, let's take all of them together, looking at the broader picture. The fiscal transfers, the inflation trends, the massive BRI investments, the IMF Labor Insight, the debate talked about the skills and the rest of them, and then the bull run markets. Now, what are the top risks and opportunities for Nigeria's economy in 2026, especially for ordinary families and investors alike?
Well, the top opportunity to mention, first of all, is the globalization of skills. That's one. The top risk is still food and power.
Food.
So now that I've mentioned that, I'll go back to the top advantage. You see, there's something that internet and social media is unraveling, and now AI jumping into the mix is creating a level playing field for everybody in the world. Now, once a job can be categorized online, it is open to the whole world, except a country say, no, we do not want, we are shielding our people. But you'll find out that now we have people in Nigeria, living in Uyo, living in Ogun State, living in Sokoto, that are in their house and they are doing a remote job for a company in the US, in Saudi Arabia, in South Africa. And why they would always get the job if there is no other thing involved is that they will offer a cheaper rate compared to somebody living in the Western world. Because if you look at the cost of living in Nigeria, for example, a single person, no matter how you say you want to be flamboyant, basically can get by on 500,000 naira per month. Just one person staying in his house. Okay? How much is 500,000? We're talking about $300.
How much is money?
It's $300, more or less.
Yes.
Now, on the international scene, such a job might be going for $3,000 per month. And the employer is saying that there's somebody in Africa that is bidding for this same job at 1,500, and he will do the same thing. Why would I not save up of my resource and just bring him down? So That is one of the biggest advantage I'm seeing for Nigeria and African countries, that if you have the skill, especially knowing how to use AI as your assistant, because a lot of people think that AI is meant to think for them. No, AI is meant to be your assistant that is very efficient. It's not meant to take over your thinking. So by the time you can use AI properly and be able to maximize it, then you can compete on the global stage. Is a massive advantage, because you have somebody offering you 100,000 naira per month in Nigeria, and you have to transport every day there. Then somebody is saying, I'll give $500, but you don't have to go anywhere, stay in your house. Which one would you pick? You pick the $500. That's like 700,000 naira.
Yes.
Now, going to the disadvantages or the threats, still remains power and food. Now, there are some jobs that you want to get. They would ask you if you can always be online. Now, there's no guarantee, except you have a generator that you are ready to always fuel, or you have a solar system. I know everybody that has that. So you have a job and they're telling you that, okay, you have to always be online. No? You might not be able to guarantee that. If you want to guarantee that, you might be spending so much that it will not make sense anymore.
Yes.
So that's a threat right there. Now, also for food, what do you want to say about food? Once food is cheap, disposable income increases, people can patronize other sectors of the economy, GDP can grow.
Okay, like he said, once food is cheap, everything falls into place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex.
So let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we will be having a financial expert, Kelechi Godfrey, join us on the conversation on tax, on crypto, remote workers, because we already mentioned remote workers, digital assets, and every other thing that is attached and linked to this topic. So do not touch that dial, do not go anywhere. This is still Business Lens on Rapid Television, Abuja. Stay with us. You are welcome back. My name is Divine Alex, and this is the Business Lens on Rapid Television, Abuja. Diving straight into it with Godfrey, Kelechi Godfrey. You are welcome to the show. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Hi, good morning.
Okay, I can't hear him, but let me quickly go over to giving an overview of what the topic is going to be about today. Now, Nigeria's tax conversation is back in the spotlight. It has been trending for like 1 week plus now, I think so. And we've been hinting on it all this while, but today we are going to be centered on it. It's moving into territory many Nigerians, especially young people, are deeply invested in. That is digital money, cryptocurrency, and virtual assets. Nigeria has quietly crossed the line in how it treats digital money under the new tax laws effective this January. Now, crypto is no longer just a tech trend or a youth workaround. It's now officially part of the state's revenue architecture, with over $92 billion in crypto transactions in a single year. And a tax to GDP ratio still below 10%. The government is saying clearly that digital wealth can no longer sit outside the system. Now, let us also recall that KPMG flagged errors, gaps, and gray areas in the laws, from unclear definitions of taxable persons to how foreign income, digital transactions, and non-resident companies are treated. That has sparked a public back and forth with the Presidential Fiscal Policy Tax Reforms Committee, which insisted that the reforms are transformational but may still require post-enactment clarification, something they say is standard globally. But now here is the tension. Bringing crypto into the tax net means tying wallet to real identities through things and names, pushing exchanges into the role of tax enforcers, and potentially changing how millions of Nigerians interact with digital assets. Now, here's another part where this gets even more interesting. While these tax laws were not written as crypto-specific legislations, they open the door to how digital assets, which is crypto trading, virtual exchanges, and cross-border digital income, could be taxed in Nigeria going forward. So the real question isn't just how do we tax crypto, rather it's whether Nigeria can formalize the digital economy without killing innovation, trust, and financial inclusion in the process. And that is where the conversation today is going to be drawn from. So we're going to be starting from the top. Kelechi Godfrey, Kelechi Godfrey, Godfrey. I don't know. I keep.
Godfrey, Kelechi, Godfrey.
Yes, Godfrey, Kelechi, Godfrey, because I love Kelechi, by the way. So I just went straight to the one I
Thank
really
you.
prefer. So it's good to have you on the show. We were supposed to have you on the show last week Thursday, but somehow something, I don't know, you just disappeared, and we were unable
I
to
deeply apologize.
get a hold of you. It's okay. So you heard me talk about the overview on the topic that we're discussing today,
Yeah,
which brings me to the first question. Now, crypto thrives on this decentralization and
this
anonymity. Now,
platform.
how is it possible, or do you think it's possible for the government to actually tax it, to actually generate revenue from crypto and digital assets?
Yeah, it's very, very possible if we have it, we do it in a realistic kind of way, in a realistic view. Now, what are we looking at now? We are looking at you not taxing the transactions, but actually taxing the economic activities surrounding the transactions, the off ramps and the fiat, the off ramps and the fiat on ramps. So you don't just say you want to tax maybe I'm sending someone USDT from my account to the next person's account. No, what you can say is once the money comes into my bank account, we have the 15 naira the transaction fees that that it costs to receive and send money. Why don't you tax from there? Why don't you start from there? Focus on that particular area, and then now build structures that can help you tax other transactions or high level transactions that happen in a decentralized system. Now, for example, no most of the transactions are onboarded on platforms. You have platforms like Binance, like Roku, and the likes of them. Can you actually say, okay, since you are a company operating with the with Nigerian money or with the funds of Nigerians, the unity of Nigerians, you're taking out our funds out of this country, which means we want to create a system that you can actually pay company tax. Now, first and foremost, the company would want to draw back on saying, why do we have to pay tax? Why can't we shift this tax? So our users, which are the end users and the consumers, they cannot come up with this system. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay you this amount on tax on transactions coming from Nigeria, and we'll also help you create a system whereby we can help you collect VAT on gas fees that every Nigerian transaction, that occurs under it and remit down to you. You have created a structure. The thing about taxation is no Nigerian is afraid to pay tax. We are all young Nigerians, Gen Zs, millennials. We are not really afraid to pay tax. The major question about all of this is accountability. I have a friend, he's Nigeria's first, Africa's first crypto banker, Remo. He's in Benin. Now, Remo built a platform. Remo does everything on his own. We have this conversation about taxation. I'm like, guy, say you go pay tax this year or this year, you go pay tax. He was like, Kelechi, paying tax is not the problem. The question is, what has the Nigerian government done for me that would make me want to pay tax to them? And that was where the conversation grew to a whole different level.
Okay, now according to IMF, sorry, hold that thought, and our revenue service data on Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio. Now, the federal government revenue targets Nigeria's currently collects less than 10% of GDP in taxes, which is one of the lowest ratios globally. Now, and then the government has come out to say, oh, it wants to push that to 18% by 2027. At the same time, crypto was, built around decentralization and privacy, that's anonymity. From a policy perspective, now, can a system designed to be borderless realistically coexist with tax system chasing traceability, or is this, tension unavoidable?
Like I said earlier, both of them can coexist side by side. You may not be able to, because crypto does an anonymity, just like we talked about earlier. Everything is decentralized. It's a system that thrives on its own network. You may not be able to track down hands-on every single transaction that happens. But then again, can you track the ones that have economic activity in your country? If you can start from there. For example, I am a crypto vendor. I sell crypto online. If I want to pay my house rent in Nigeria, do I use crypto or Naira? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So I have to sell my coins and bring the money back into the country to actually pay my house rent. That is the basic idea. So why don't you... Now, here's the funny thing. There is tax avoidance. There's tax evasion. If I'm filling out my tax form, and they ask me, what is my profession? I would say I breed for a living. I would say I trade crypto coins for a living. If I write I breathe for a living and I have in my account 100 million naira, are you telling me just by breathing air you're making 100 million naira every day? I have committed fraud in my in where I am filling out my tax detail. I have committed fraud, and that is tax evasion. That is actually so. I have to put down what I do for a living, and this is from there you can now start checking out. Okay, you do this for a living. How much is your income for a living? I tell you, okay, I trade crypto, and this is it. So for every transaction I make, I must make a profit. Now, me by myself, I'll be able to tell you this is how much I make on profit on daily basis or monthly basis at the end of the financial year that you can actually put a tax on. So if you feel I am not telling you the truth, you can now do your investigations. Just like I said, you tax economic activities, not the anonymous transactions that happen within the decentralized system. So for example, if I send someone money abroad, would you come and charge me for sending that person money who I don't even know, who never existed? Or if maybe I was paying for something I never knew about, or paying someone who I've never met face to face who's in a different time or in a different country. Okay. So this is why I say don't tax the transactions, tax the economic activity around them.
Okay. Now, these new tax laws that Nigeria Tax Act and the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, which took effect, early this January, but there is a little bit of controversy around it because the Big Four, that's the KPMG Nigeria, has already flagged errors, gaps, inconsistencies that could affect compliance. From your experience working on monetary policy at the CBN, how risky would you say that this is to roll out tax laws, this sweeping, without airtight clarity?
Okay, so there's something that happens with clarity. Let me start from the area of capital flight. Any investor coming to invest in the country, first of all, if you're trying to tell him, wait, hold on, let us clarify our tax issues and all of that, they would walk away because no one wants clarity. All we want is tell us this is it and this is that and let's go in. Talking about the gray areas that KPMG has talked about, a gray area has two sides. Either from the first side, it's either you're going to pay tax, or from the other side, there might be multiple taxations. Now, in the case of multiple taxations, we can actually work on that and actually bring it down to a very levied system. Like I said earlier, clarity is something. It is better even pay high tax than deal with uncertainty and not clear tax laws or tax reforms, because it kills faster, it destroys an economy faster. I can plan for high tax. If I'm to pay heavy tax, I can plan for it. I can have things that's more like tax avoidance. I can have things that within the breach of the law can help me reduce my tax burden. But if I am not clear on what tax to pay, there is going to be severe consequences on it.
Yes, I get that.
And the funny truth is, has the system been designed well enough that if we see the errors, can this tax be refunded back to me? Tax refund, can it be refunded back to me? So these are the things that I think need to be actually worked on. KPMG cited something. I think the Presidential Fiscal Committee needs to work on, sit down and work on the issues KPMG has brought out.
Okay, so
treating both gray areas.
To assist you here, KPMG specifically flagged Section 17, 3B and C of the Nigerian Tax Act, NTA 2025. Now, warning that non-residents that do not have a permanent establishment or significant economic presence should not be required to file for tax returns. The law does not clearly exempt such companies, creating potential companies, potential compliance challenges, like you already mentioned. So for crypto users trading on offshore platforms, where there's no Nigerian establishment, are we now looking at a genuine risk of double taxation or no taxation at all? Which one would you say it is?
Okay, so with this particular law, we are looking at no taxation at all. That's just the gospel truth, because most of these platforms or entities are not registered within the country, and that's why I mentioned earlier. If this is going to work, there has to be a place where the federal government or the tax committee sits down with the regulators or the players in this industry and tell them, look, there's a mass exodus of Nigerian capital leaving the country, and we want to put a hold on it to build our economy. We need you to work with us. So would you come and register your presence in the country and pay company income tax? Or would you find us a structure that everyone with the Nigerian KYC can actually pay tax on the transactions that happen on your platform? Now, like I said earlier, the platform will not want to take the burden of paying tax. So they will shift it down to the end users, they will shift it down to the consumers. That is just the crux of the entire thing. So it is either you pay tax or you don't, because these platforms don't have a presence in the country. They don't have a presence in the country, but there and then again, they are operating and making money from the country.
Okay. Kelechi, are you still with me?
I'm still with you.
Okay. Now, this is another part of this whole task conversation on crypto, the remote workers, digital assets. That is really interesting. In Nigeria, crypto falls under SEC regulations, right? When it behaves like an investment, not money.
Yes.
Now, the SEC under its rule on issuance, offering platforms and custody of digital assets 2022 clarifies or classifies rather crypto and digital tokens as securities once they are used for investment purposes. Now, at the same time, the CBN still does not recognize crypto as legal tender. Now, even though that they had come out to lift the restrictions on bank interactions with VASP in December 2023, I think, yes, that was December 2023. Now, let's also add this new conversation, the new tax laws, which bring digital income, like you mentioned, remote earnings, right, and virtual asset transactions into the tax net. My question is this. Is there a risk that aggressive taxation coming ahead of full licensing clarity and monetary alignment could actually disrupt the progress regulators are trying to make, especially in building trust?
To start with, there's no trust in the system, let's be honest. I might be a finance person and I am in the system, but when you talk about trust, you talk about trust between the end users and then the system and then the federal government. First and first, there is no trust between the citizens and the federal government. If the government says want to do A, B, and C, the citizens will just sit back and say, okay, we are expecting A, B, and C, but we know that it is C, D, and E that is going to roll out. Now, if a freelancer, for example, let's say someone who earns on TikTok, makes money on TikTok, what is the Nigerian regulation and compliance concerning TikTok in the country? What law has been established about it? We have none. So do you want to tax something that you don't have any compliance parameters over? That is the question that is going to be asked. TikTok does not have any presence in Nigeria. How do you do now want to tax TikTok earnings? Just like I remember there was a case where we had to invite Meta because of the money they were making through ads from the Nigerian market and all of that, making serious money. Now, it was a whole back and forth on having them pay tax. And I said, you know what, we'll cut off our service from the country and we'll move on.
Okay.
So if are we strong enough to have negotiations where we can get these companies, these systems, these platforms compliant with the laws of the country?
Okay.
In being able to do that, then we cannot talk about the trust between the people, the government, and the system. But till that is actually designed and structured, it will still be a merry-go-round.
Okay.
It's going to be a merry-go-round.
It's going to be a merry-go-round. And people are hoping that, there's this whole clarity is going to be solved. But let me quickly bring in the human angle right here on this conversation. Now, many young Nigerians turn to crypto because of unemployment, right? FX instability and trust issues like we already established on this conversation with institutions. Now, from the digital assets perspective, do you honestly see voluntary tax compliance happening, or is trust, like we have said, still too fragile for that?
Okay, so like I said earlier, right? Nigerians are not afraid to pay tax. But one thing they need to see is evidence and accountability. I want to use Abia State as a case study, for example. I'm from Abia State. The governor is doing serious and heavy work in Abia State. He's doing a whole lot. If he tells Abians, please, I would like people to comply and pay tax, not everyone may comply, but a huge number, at least 70% upward, would comply, and that is a good report. So if the government can say, okay, Nigerians, we want to give young Nigerians access to free education, your university degree, your secondary school, your primary school, you're going to pay a subsidized amount. That's something. You're going to get the finest of medical care. That is something. We're going to give you access to, we're going to give you power and all of that. I mean, staying in Nigeria for 24 hours and having uninterrupted power supply
For
and paying
24
like a minimum
hours,
amount
it's going to
for
be
24
okay.
hours.
You're right.
Exactly. Now you get my point. The
Okay, I
problem is
get
not
that.
in complying to pay tax. It
It's
is
for
if
them
I
to
am
actually
done
put
paying
the
my
money
one
to
bit,
use.
can the money be put to use? We
Thank
saw how
you.
Dangote called out the and I think was it DPR chairman and said, "Oh, you have kids in these schools paying millions."
We
And
we heard that information, but please hold that thought because our time
I'm
is
holding it.
almost about to elapse. But I would really want to get your thoughts on this one because I want us to take a step back to February
Okay.
2021. Now, this was under the Buhari administration, and then the CBN governor then was still Godwin Emefiele. Now, the central bank
Yeah.
directed banks that dealing in cryptocurrencies is, or facilitating payments, right, for cryptocurrency exchange is prohibited. It is like, in fact, you know what I'm saying, right? Now, despite that, crypto trading did not disappear. It did not. It did not go anywhere. People are still in it till today. Now, what it did was going deeper into peer-to-peer markets. Given that history, what lessons would you say that the policymakers should pick from that particular thing, especially with this whole new conversation around tax and cryptocurrency and remote workers and digital assets? And also, keep in mind that crypto is still not a legal tender in Nigeria as at today. So what would you advise
Okay.
them to say?
Okay. So let me clarify the law that happened in 2021. So but they definitely banned banks from carrying out crypto transactions. There was no ban on having crypto transactions done in Nigeria. It was just that then it was very easy from your bank account. You can fund your crypto wallet. You can withdraw to your bank account. That was just it. So they banned the technology that had the access to it, and banks could no longer carry out crypto transactions and all sorts. That was the ban on it. Now, it did not negate the fact that crypto was illegal in Nigeria. Now, what this did was it just pushed people to find alternative means to carry out crypto transactions without having the government's view on it, without having a compliance, someone that will be have maybe a compliance principal, a compliance overhead watching their transactions or controlling or monitoring transactions. So the thing about banning things is that it doesn't just stop. Instead, it goes down and it continues deeper. So here's what I would advise. Instead of saying we want to ban this or stop this, instead of suppression, why don't you go for inclusion?
Okay.
Why don't you go for inclusion? Why don't
Why
you find a
don't
way
we
to
go for
adopt this
inclusion? Okay. So,
inclusion, adopt this thing into the system? Okay,
okay.
we saw how CBN brought out the CBDC, the INAIRA. The INAIRA, should I say, was a successful failure?
Okay.
Pardon
So
my
now,
English. It was.
according to you, right? Because we have like 1 minute left, right? Now, according to
I'm so
you,
sorry.
if like you were advising the policymakers, now the government, from you now to the government, because like you said, you are into this whole crypto trading and you understand the system very well, and you are also a financial expert, which makes this really okay for you to actually have an analysis and say, oh, government, you can do something like this. Now, what would a fair and workable crypto tax framework look like
Okay,
if you were to
I
advise
won't
the
just call.
government?
Okay, if I was to advise, I would go with the already established principle, which has to do with roughly about 5 pillars in the
Okay.
framework. First and foremost, clear definition: who is going to be taxed, what is going to be taxed, and when is the tax.
Okay. Now, we would love to have continued this conversation, but our time is fast spent. But definitely, we are going to bring up this conversation some other time where we go deeper and deeper to properly break this down. And that's our business lens for today. Crypto is no longer outside the system, yes. But whether taxation brings order or drives activity on the ground, we will depend on how smartly this is done. That's the conversation, and we will keep tracking it right here on Business Lens. My name is Divine Alex. Thank you for watching. See you next time, 11 a.m. on Thursday. And don't forget to stay with Rapid TV.